Today we're going to be breaking down a little bit about Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and really just the uncertainty surrounding the Brooklyn Nets and their whole situation.
Yeah, as Summer League takes place, the biggest question in and around the NBA is where is the Slim Reaper headed for the 2023 NBA season? And before we get into that, make sure you guys like, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Now let's get into the video. As my boy Firas mentioned, lots of uncertainty. It was the dawn, the morning before free agency was set to get underway, and KD dropped a bomb on the whole NBA. He requested a trade. Things not looking so good in Brooklyn, and shockwaves have been felt around the organization. Poor DeAndre Ayton can't even sign because he's just waiting to see where KD lands. And he's not the only one. Got the whole NBA on their toes, trying to wait to see what happens next.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Everybody waiting for the KD chips to fall and see where they stack up before anybody else making any more major moves. But no, man, like you mentioned it, the day before free agency, all was good. All was well in Brooklyn land. You know what I'm saying? Or should I say Brookland? You know, a lot of Brooklyn Nets fans were waking up. They were cracking their blinds. It was a regular hot summer afternoon in the busy streets of Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? They all went to go check their phones, and to their surprise, all had gone wrong in Dreamland. You know what I'm saying? We're getting all over the place with these names, right? It's Brooklyn, Dreamland, La La Land. It doesn't matter. Things are terrible in Brooklyn right now, and uncertainty is the best way to describe it. You know, all of the melee around Kyrie Irving, all of the melee now surrounding the Kevin Durant request for a trade. Tyler, where do we even start with all of this?
I think we start with the 72 hours of hell Kyrie started in Brooklyn when he was trying to figure out if he wanted to even opt in, right? And the Nets think they dodge a bullet. Oh, that only lasts for about 14 hours because then KD says he wants out. And I think the place I want to take this is from the Nets front office side, from the Sean Marks, Joseph Tsai perspective. The Nets have put on a masterclass in mismanagement. I have been one to say the Nets embarrassed themselves, and it was the mismanagement of those two individuals that got them there, right? Part of having a superstar-led team is ceding some of that power, and there are no givebacks. When that happens, when you have KD, when you have LeBron, you have a top 5 player, through good or bad, you ride that situation out. And I think a lot of what happened here, the drama that ensued, was Joseph Tsai and Sean Marks trying to get back some of their power.
You said it, man. And I think the best way to describe the last couple years in this Brooklyn Nets franchise history is really they played themselves. You know what I mean? Let's think about it, right? Potentially 2 weeks from now, you're left with Kyrie Irving and Ben Simmons on your roster. That's a potential, right? I'm not going to get into other options and that kind of thing, right? Whereas a year ago, your roster had Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, James Harden. I mean, the list goes on, right? They gave away all their picks for the near future. Basically, they put all of their eggs in one basket. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of it comes from, as you mentioned, the power struggle that happened in Brooklyn, right? I'm going to go to a place that a lot of people, we've touched on it before, but a lot of people might not expect. I blame this solely on Steve Nash. Not Steve Nash the person, but the lack of leadership that you got from Steve Nash. You know, there's so many personalities. These are major personalities between Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant, right? And you were basically brought in not to coach, to manage these personalities, because half of that battle, right, is managing personalities. But at the same time, you know, Steve Nash is not, he really didn't do anything from playmaking, adjustments, the coaching side of things. You know, we would have at least thought from a personalities perspective, he could have been able to make this whole thing work. But man, I think the value of a Ty Lue in this situation, of a Doc Rivers in this situation, really shows when you're comparing them to Steve Nash, right? Because Ty Lue, we talk about it all the time. He was, at the end of the day, able to let it be known in a locker room that consisted of LeBron James and at one point Kyrie Irving as well, among with many former All-Stars as well. He was able to assert dominance and let them know at the end of the day, yeah, you might be the best player in the world, but I'm your coach. You're going to listen to how I do things. And in the end, it was basically, a bunch of guys running the show themselves, man. There was never a clear message as a team, as a franchise, where they wanted to go, playing style. They never developed anything. It was basically just give your best players the ball and move out the way, And that can only get you so far. So many things happen, but that's kind of I partially fault the coaching or the lack thereof for how this situation ended up playing out,
And I think that's fair. You said it. There was no vision, no style, no nothing to hang your hat on with Steve Nash, and that made its way onto the court. This was a Nets team that had no style, no feel, no soul, if you will. And I think you can take that even another step higher to Joseph Tsai and
Sean Marks.
Sean Marks' doorstep, because they brought this guy in. Yes, I know KD was the one that signed off, but Sean Marks, that's Steve Nash's old teammate. That's Joseph Tsai's boy, and that played a part too. So don't be fooled by the media narrative. That was not just a KD boardroom decision, okay? So let's get into this. We know where we are now. KD requested about a week ago to get traded from Brooklyn, and the latest reports say there is no traction on any deal. I'm not going to lie. I think one of the biggest roadblocks in this was that Rudy Gobert trade. Sean Marks just saw Utah get 5 firsts for Rudy.
It was a 9-player swing. It's basically for Rudy Gobert, you got 5 first rounds basically and 4 current players. And one of them being Pat Bev, Malik Beasley. They gave up so much. And now you got to understand, if that's the price for Gobert, you already know when it comes to KD, yesterday's price is not today's price. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
And Sean Marks is letting everybody know that. And do I blame him? Hell no. Because you are in such a bad situation if you lose KD and you lose Kyrie for absolutely squat. You know what I mean? If KD's out of here, you need 5 first-round picks and 4 players just to stay afloat. And you might not even get his value back. Right? And you said it, man. Gobert's out here fucking up the league again. Excuse my French. He fucked it up with COVID, touching mics. You know what I'm saying? And he's out here fucking it up again. You know what I mean?
No, that's big facts. And you're right. The Brooklyn Nets shouldn't do anything. They shouldn't feel rushed into a trade. KD does have 4 years. Kyrie did opt in, and they don't have their picks for the next 4 years either. So there's no reason for them to be bad and blow it all the way up. But the problem is, KD has input in this trade, right? When you're dealing with the superstar, like we said, you got to cede some power. And part of that is the leverage they have of other superstars potentially playing for your franchise down the line. You treat one superstar bad, they'll assume you're going to do it again. That's something that hurt the Knicks. They saw how they let Phil Jackson come in and rush Carmelo out the door. And we haven't got a superstar through free agency since. Part of that is James Dolan too, but these things matter.
100%, man. And so, like you mentioned, where we are today, right? There was so much uncertainty around Kyrie. Was he going to sign? He was allowed to look for trades. KD requests a trade. Kyrie can't find a better situation. Signs up, gets that bag, secures at least another year in Brooklyn. As you mentioned, a lot of trade talks have fallen apart because yesterday's price is not today's price. Now, let me chill out. But with that being said, let's just talk about it, man. KD, when he came out and requested his trade, he put 2 teams out there that he really wanted to go to, right? There's been a third team that's been mentioned in all of this, his former team, the Golden State Warriors. So let's start off. Listen to teams, and then we'll go break it down one by one. So you have the Phoenix Suns, the first team he requested. Second team was the Miami Heat. Mind you, both first place in both conferences, right? Shouts out to KD, he doesn't change. And then with that being said, the last team that's really, I already mentioned, the Golden State Warriors, who has been a very heavy favorite, really, to receive KD for some reason. So first off, let's start off with the Phoenix Suns. It's the first team we mentioned, Ty. What are your thoughts on the realities of KD getting traded to Phoenix, and let's just say by a miracle he does, what do you expect to come out of it?
Well, when news first broke, this was the situation, the scenario, the team that sounded the most likely, right? We were thinking,
Mhm.
we know DeAndre Ayton is being held in limbo, signing trade options there. You throw in a Mikal Bridges, a bunch of picks, maybe that can get it done. But the Nets came out from the jump and said, we want Booker or we're not talking. And that makes it very unlikely to see this trade actually come into fruition. Because then what? KD's going there to play with just CP? Like,
And
CP
DeAndre
and the
Ayton?
decimated. Well, that's DeAndre Ayton would be going back still.
Well, there you go. Oh shoot.
It's
Okay.
it's tough. I don't see it as realistic anymore, because of the way the Nets have handled it so far. They would have to severely drop their asking price to to accept an offer Phoenix could propose.
Yeah. You said it. I think all signs point back to Rudy Gobert in Minnesota. But yeah, no, you mentioned it. I think that's kind of the realities and the accuracies of the situation over there. And let's just say the Nets get what they want. KD is not going there to play with CP3 and whoever else is left, like you mentioned.